Yo, what's going on? It's Votonomous back again with another video, and today I'm going to be talking more about Springtrap and Jason. I have a whole bunch of comments I want to go through. I actually have this tweet that did really great numbers a couple weeks ago, so I just wanted to go through some of these comments and have a discussion, see what the community thinks about Springtrap being replaced by Jason. Before we get started, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers, so it'd mean a lot to me if you did. Also, make sure to like the video. It really helps boost it. And comment down below what you think. So, like I said, I made this tweet a while ago, June 19th. It is now June 3rd. June 19th, I made this tweet, and I said, "It's crazy how Jason has made Springtrap utterly pointless. The only reason you'd play Springtrap over Jason at this point is because you're a Springtrap fan. There's nothing Springtrap offers that's better than what Jason provides. Sad." And I genuinely do feel like that. There are a few exceptions to the rule, but there are things that Springtrap has, but Jason just does so much better. So now I'm going to go through some of these comments, and I'm going to see what you guys think. I'm going to see what the community thinks. I've seen some of these, I've liked some of these, but there's a lot of these I actually didn't even get to see or didn't even get to read fully. So I'm going to see, and I'm going to give my opinions on what you guys put. Springtrap gives the survivor security doors so they can get to gens faster. It's funny, but I don't... Survivors don't really use the doors. They stay in clear of the doors almost all the time. There's no reason to use them. I know you could use them for teleportation, but that is kind of risky. So survivors don't really use it. But it was a pretty good tweet. Got over 100 likes. But yeah, I don't fully agree with this because how many survivors do you know actually use the doors? I also think the doors controls are so clunky. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how clunky those controls are. So I don't even use it to try to like escape Springtrap, and you're never gonna really use it in chase, really. Otherwise you're just gonna get found. So it's bad. I don't know about this one. But it's funny. I'd have to disagree. Springy still lets you pick up survivors directly with the axe. Doesn't push them away with his axe. Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Yes, Springtrap can pick up survivors with his axe. He can do an axe grab. He gets Lightborn off of it pretty much as well. And it is faster to grab a survivor from the axe than to down them and then pick them up that way. Plus, again, the Lightborn, you basically get a free Lightborn, so that's good. The problem here is that it's really hard to actually get that axe grab. Unless you deliberately go right behind the survivor and then throw your axe, hit them, and then hope to God that they run into a wall or something. It's really hard to get a 2-tap, and it's really hard to get an axe grab. So I like, there are times you could get an axe grab, yes, but it's just it's really, you'd have to kind of force it most of the time, because if you hit a survivor with the axe, odds are they're going to run far enough away to get to another loop, and then you're just gonna kind of be running around that loop, and you're gonna want your axe back. So the axe grabs are nice, but they're not really reliable. You also said doesn't push them away with the axe. There are times though with Jason's pushback that could actually be really good. I had an example of a play on a stream not too long ago where I was playing as Jason, and one of the survivors that I was going up against really wanted to go to K-Shack. I pushed them away from K-Shack window, and they had nowhere to go, and I was able to down them, right? So there are ways that the Jason Spear, his hook thing, is really nice for pushing survivors away. You could also push them towards a wall and have them stagger a little bit. Honestly, I think that's almost more reliable than Springtrap's axe grab, in my opinion. Gets undetectable from doors is a nothing burger. Like, unless, like, the goal there would be to go to a door that's kind of farther away from a gen and then use your undetectable to get to the gen. But the problem is that the undetectable does not really work when your foot stomps are loud as hell. Springtrap, you can hear that guy coming from a mile away. As long as you're paying attention, you're gonna know he's coming. So I don't know about any of that, quite honestly. Travel through doors without survivors knowing. No, that is false. Travel through doors without survivors knowing is not the case. And this is one of my main problems with Springtrap, is that if your door placements are not good and Springtrap goes through a door that the door's facing the generator, you're gonna have like it's not 10 seconds, but you're gonna have so much time, even 5 seconds in Dead by Daylight is a lot of time. Survivors are going to see the door, the number on the little door panel thing, go on and off and on and off and on and off, and they're going to know, okay, someone's coming through this door. 9 times out of 10, it's Springtrap. So they have all that time, the second the door starts wigging out, to pre-run. They have all that time to pre-run. So traveling through doors without survivors knowing, it depends on the door placements, quite honestly. If the door is facing away from the gen, then the only way they'll know that you're going through that specific door is when they hear it open. Otherwise, if the door is facing the gen, they're gonna know. Easier time with orbitals is also not completely true, I gotta say, because like Jason could do orbitals. Your goal with Springtrap, right? And I kind of said this in my rant video. You're thinking of, oh my god, you're thinking of throwing the axe up into the air and then it falls down with the gravity. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's unreliable. First of all, a lot of that is luck. A lot of that is luck. You could say that it's skill all you want. Maybe to a certain degree it is skill. Maybe you get used to it. Maybe you can understand a science to it, but you're kind of guessing. It does feel more like luck than anything else. Also, though, especially with those types of orbitals, I said this in my rant video, there are trees in so many different loops. So many different loops there are trees. And you can't even do your orbital because the axe is actually going to hit the tree. Or if you're indoors, you're not going to be able to get your orbital that way. So, I don't know. I think, like, yeah, of course, there's more of an arch when it comes to Springtrap's axe, and Jason doesn't have that arch. But Jason, the fact that he can easily straight shot you, and the spear goes so far, it's such a far spear. Springtrap's axe, it doesn't have as much distance as Jason's orbital. Or not orbital, Jason's projectile. That's what I meant to say. Doesn't have as much range, unfortunately. So these orbitals, I guess, like, you could technically say that, yeah, the skill ceiling is bigger with Springtrap with the orbitals that you could do, but it's just not reliable. And tons of fun add-ons. Here's the thing, is that, like, some of these add-ons that Springtrap has, I've been saying this for a long time. If you've been coming into my streams, which I do recommend you doing, it's a really great time. I've been saying for a long time that Foxy's add-on is kind of a must-run. The amount of times that you miss your axe shots as Springtrap, and then you get that aura bubble thing, I really feel like it's super important to bring Foxy's hook. I know there's a ton of fun add-ons, and I don't disagree with that, but the way I play Springtrap, it almost feels like I need Foxy's hook to get more value out of my axe, especially if I miss it, you know? So I feel like I'm locked to Foxy's hook, but I mean, that's not false. There's a lot of add-ons that Springtrap has that are a lot of fun. But there are certain add-ons that Jason has that are actually just better than Springtrap's, like Loot Bag. Loot Bag got replaced by, oh hell, what, I forget what it's called. But there's an add-on that Jason has that's basically Loot Bag but better, because the exit gates stay closed when you hit a survivor with the spear, but they also stay closed 5 seconds after they extract it. When it comes to Loot Bag, there's you hit the survivor with the axe, and then the second they get rid of it, they're just able to go, right? So I just feel like that in that particular instance, Jason's add-on is just better than Springtrap's. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this isn't wrong though. There's a lot of fun Springtrap add-ons, but I'd honestly say that most of this is just like, especially, oh my god, travel through doors without survivors knowing. I don't know if you genuinely meant to put that, but that is just completely incorrect. Okay, here's I guess here's a clip of somebody doing really good with Springtrap, and that's great, but the thing is that take somebody who's kind of new to playing Springtrap and kind of new to playing Jason. I'm gonna argue that they're gonna do a better job with Jason, right? So, like, yeah, this is probably somebody who's played Springtrap for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, but looking at it from somebody who's barely played Jason or barely played Springtrap, they're probably going to do better with Jason. You know what I mean? Like, I play Xenomorph and Springtrap is better than him. I'm 2 levels of power creep right now. That is rough. Not to mention how survivors can literally teleport across the map. Yeah, I think you guys are putting too much stake into that. I really... I don't think that matters too much, honestly. When playing against Springtrap, they really destroyed his character. He could have been a lot better. I think he could have been a lot more unique, for sure. But I genuinely believe that there's ways to fix this and buff Springtrap with what he has. But you guys are for sure putting a lot more stake into survivors can use the teleports. Because yes, they can, but I feel like none of them use it. Unless I just don't know. Unless I just don't know that they're using it. But I feel like... And honestly, if they are using it and I don't know about it, that really sucks. Because, you know... that just goes to show how little the, oh, let me use my doors to try to grab survivors even matters at this point in time. So yeah. See, I'll be complaining, but Unknown straight fried and Trapper gets stuck in his own traps. Yeah, I mean, this is true. But I'm just saying that, like, see, here's the thing with this is that, like, Trapper's just 100% completely different from Jason and Springtrap. My argument here is that Jason and Springtrap are like almost the same character. They do almost the same stuff, and Jason's just better in my opinion. So I mean, you're not wrong, but it's not completely relevant to the topic. I still think he's better at 2-tapping. And his doors allow him to sneak up with teleporting. You guys really think that his undetectable helps a lot, and I don't think his undetectable really matters because his footsteps are really loud. Versus Jason, that lets everyone in the entire map know. His axe also provides more utility with certain add-ons. With add-ons, his axe could be decent, but there are certain add-ons that, like, okay, here's the thing, right? Like, Access Panel, I'm a huge fan of Access Panel. But the only reason I really like it is because of the information. You charge up your axe like you're about to throw it, and then you could see Killer Instinct from survivors who are close to doors. I am not going to use my axe to throw it through a door to try to get a hit. Like, that's just not... I'm not doing that. That's a waste of my time. But, I mean, I guess this is not incorrect, but he's not permanently stuck at 4.4 like Jason is. He's not permanently stuck at 4.4 like Jason is, but here's the problem, is that Jason's mobility is so much better in my opinion. He can go across the map in no time. Springtrap, you have to go out of your way to find a door, to go through another door, and people just kind of like, oh my god. A lot of you guys don't realize that there's a lot of doors that, especially when you're trying to go to certain gens, that survivors are just going to know you're going through that door. So, again, you could say, well, Dylan, just go somewhere else. Go through a different door. No, because, again, the undetectable is not going to help you as much as you think it's going to help you. His footsteps are really loud. So, as long as you got a pair of headsets on your head and it's got them cranked up, you're gonna be able to hear that Springtrap is coming, especially if for whatever reason, and there's a lot of Springtrap players that do this, and here's a little bit of a tip. If you are trying to sneak up on a survivor and you threw your axe down and you go through a door, and then you know that they're on a certain gen, and then you're walking over there, but you you bring your axe back to you, Springtrap does a really loud laugh. It's not smart to do that. You're going to give yourself away. So, I don't think that 2-tapping is true. I don't. A lot of people, for whatever reason, think that Springtrap is really good with 2-tapping. I think he's mediocre. Again, you're assuming you're assuming that you're gonna throw the axe and then you're gonna get that axe grab immediately. That only happens against like terrible survivors. Otherwise, normal survivors, they're gonna be able to just run to a different loop, and then you're gonna just have to hit your axe again. So axe grabs are not really a thing. Whereas Jason, I feel like there's definitely opportunities where you could throw your hook at somebody, and then depending on where they end up going from that launch that you send them through, you can 2-tap. Like, I have 2-tapped as Jason a decent amount of times, and I've barely played Jason when like I played way more Springtrap than Jason. So, and I feel like I've already been two-tapping more with Jason than with Springtrap. So, I guess you could call it skill issue, whatever you want to think. I just think that, again, two-tapping, I don't know. I think you're playing low MMR, is what I think. So yeah, I don't know. And this whole thing, like, Jason lets everyone know in the entire map that he showed up because of the jump scare. Who cares? That's the price you pay. Imagine that didn't happen, honestly. Because Jason's mobility is so good. It's so good that if people weren't made aware that Jason's right there, it would just be way too busted. Because again, I have to say, Jason's mobility is so much better than Springtrap's. So I'm not mad that there's a jump scare where people just know, like, okay, he's around me. I don't really think it's that bad. Besides, again, Springtrap is not as stealthy as you guys think he is. So, loop-wise, Springtrap can be better. For everything else, Jason can be better. Again, I guess I could see, like, that being the case because, you know, depending on where you are, what loop you have, sometimes Springtrap's axe could be better suited for the loop that you're currently at. But I really just feel like most of that's luck. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. Springtrap has much better chase ceiling. Again, oh man, you guys put a lot of... You guys really think that the orbitals mean so much. I guess, like, my thing is like, guys, have you been able to successfully hit your orbitals, like, consistently? Have you? I just want to know, because... I have not. I've barely hit orbitals, and that's just how it is. That's just how it goes. I don't know. Again, I guess you could call it a skill issue if you want, but I just don't think it's as reliable as you guys make it sound. Same could be said for Xenomorph and Nemesis. I guess, but again, it's just like Springtrap and it's like what I said before. Springtrap and Jason are just so similar gameplay wise that's why there's a comparison there. Nemesis and Xenomorph don't really have, like, Xenomorph. You could argue that, sure. Nemesis, I don't know why you'd bring up Nemesis at all. I think they're completely different. I would have liked to see more of a trapper type mechanic than yet another OP ranged attack. Oh, you're talking about Jason? Yeah, it's unfortunate that the way Jason plays is Springtrap, but better, honestly. And I kind of felt that way when I was playing the PTB. I'm like, oh god, this is just Springtrap, but honestly, it just feels better. I feel like cracked, thank you. I feel like cracked players could make an argument for orbitals giving Springtrap a better chase on some maps. But yeah, it's niche and not much. There you go. Thank you, thank you so much, Mr. Luke Erickson. Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that a lot of people do bring up these orbitals, and it is true. Yes, cracked players could make an argument for orbitals, but your average Joe who plays DBD, like, an okay amount, is not going to be able to hit those orbitals. So, like I said, if you're taking a new player, like a newer player, who's barely played Springtrap and barely played Jason, I'm telling you, they're going to have an easier time with Jason than they're going to have with Springtrap. Just my opinion. But it looks like I'm not alone with that thought. It's niche and not much, especially since he gives survivors teleports and free reveals on him. Lol. Yeah, so, I mean, people don't really use the cameras, like, period, but yeah, this is true. They could get the aura reading on Springtrap. I just think it's a waste of time completely. That mechanic is just terrible. I don't think this community understands that people rarely play killers for their strengths, and rather if they like their playstyle / fans / characters themselves. I still play Skull Merchant. I still play Skull Merchant, and the past fucking all of the killers that released are better than her. Yeah, I mean, look, that is true. I cannot argue against that. There's going to be a lot of people that, even with Jason that has come out, and he's, like, pretty much a better Springtrap, there's still going to be a lot of people that play Springtrap because he's Springtrap. I completely understand that. I don't disagree with this. It's just that's, you know, almost got nothing to do with the argument that I displayed here in the original post. I feel like Springtrap's projectile is different enough. It is different. It's very the projectile is very different. The problem is Jason's is better. It's just better, and more reliable in my opinion. and has its own ups and downs to where there's enough reason to want to still play him. Yeah, I mean, if you're super cracked at the game and you really want to hit those orbitals, then sure. But otherwise, like, as far as, like, a ranged projectile goes, it's really short. It's like a shotgun blast. Jason's projectile is definitely a lot more reliable in that sense. But I do think Springtrap could use some buffs. Oh, he certainly could, and there's a lot of mechanics that he has that just, they need fixing. He's lagging behind, especially for a very recent killer. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. I feel like Springtrap is due for another update. I just don't think his kit aged well. Aged all that well. This isn't me calling him ass. He's definitely not, but he's definitely not in a good spot. And I agree. I think that there's a lot that needs to be fixed about him, quite honestly. And I have ideas. I really do. And I'm going to be probably posting another video about it in the future about how I would fix Springtrap personally. Or maybe because Springtrap has a different projectile and possibly a different power, except he doesn't. Except, like, he's got teleports. Jason doesn't have teleports. He's got, like, a phase walk. But at the end of the day, like, the concept is similar, where it's supposed to be map mobility. And the way Jason does it is so much better than the way Springtrap does it. And you can't even sit here and tell me that Springtrap's doors do anything other than just get him from point A to B. Because if you're going to sit here and be like, well, but Jason can't pick up a survivor through the security door, please tell me how many times you did that, especially in high MMR. Please tell me how many times you've actually done that, because I guarantee you it's not a lot. It's almost pointless. So for the most part, Springtrap, his doors are mainly for point A to point B. And his doors for the survivor side of things, you could argue, well, survivors don't have anything to do against Jason. There's nothing interactive. There's something interactive for survivors against Springtrap. Not really, though. Not really, though, because you don't gain a lot, and it really doesn't matter. So the doors are meaningless aside from being a teleport. And there's a projectile. Is it a different projectile? It acts differently, sure, but it acts better. It acts better. I'm sorry. It acts better. So, being a P100 Springtrap main, it's true. Just I still will play Springtrap, of course, yeah. Because I personally enjoy how his projectile works more so over Jason. And I'm sure there's a decent amount of people, like, especially in your case, because you're used to playing Springtrap, you're a P100 Springtrap main, you sunk over 100 million blood points into him. I'm assuming you're really good at him at this point. But I think you can understand that newer survivors or newer killers would rather play Jason at this point. Even if it's weaker, I like throwing my axe up and without seeing the survivor and it landing on their head. It's more satisfying for me. Of course, yeah, it's totally satisfying, but you're also taking a huge gamble with that. That's the problem. It's a gigantic gamble. So if you miss, you're just wasting your time. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is like, you could say like, well, if you hit it though, you're gonna have a lot of pressure. Yeah, but that's like a 10% chance, let's just say. So the 90% chance of you missing, you're going to be wasting your time. So yeah. But I understand, yeah. I understand it's satisfying. I understand still wanting to play Springtrap. Of course, I get all those things. It's just, and you agree with me at this point that the projectile is just better for Jason. It's crazy how Singularity has made Springtrap utterly pointless. The only reason you play Springtrap over Singularity at this point is because you're a Springtrap fan. There's nothing Springtrap offers that's better than what Singularity provides. Sad. It's that, well, but that's also completely different though. Their play styles are completely different. So if this was supposed to be like some type of like you know, I guess like a gacha post or something. I don't know if you're being serious or not, but this is, again, this is the point is they at least play so differently. Like you could say, why would you play Trapper? Because you could play anybody else who's so much better and has so much more to offer. Yeah, of course you could say that. You could say that. My point. Oh my god, it's so funny that this went over people's heads and they take it to this degree. The point is they're super similar. They're super similar. So it's it's not about like the whole, yeah, well, why would you play Trapper? Because you can play somebody who's obviously super better. Why would you play a D tier killer? It's about you designed almost the same killer. You designed almost the same killer for 9th year anniversary to 10th year anniversary. The killers are almost the same. They got the exact same idea and concept. So yeah, if hey, maybe if Springtrap's doors actually meant a damn, more than just a teleport, then that would be different enough for me to say, you know, they're different, but it's not. Nobody uses the doors. Good. Jason Todd Voorhees says good. Awesome. The one thing he has over Jason is more content. Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I'm sure there's people that can find content for Jason, I guess. But yeah. Well, okay, I don't know if you're talking about, like, content creation. If you're talking about, like, the chapter itself, then, yeah, I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's had a map. But, his whole kit has basically nothing to do with who he is anyways. Oh, you're saying for Springtrap or Jason? Except for the door. Okay, Springtrap. Except for the door, which literally no one uses. Yeah. His adaptation was done so badly, wish he had a different power. I mean, I understand that take is that his axe just didn't really do too much, or his axe doesn't make sense to his character, not really, and I completely get that. The doors do make a lot of sense, but they fumbled it in a way. So yeah, I get that. Why did they give him so many counterplay option? Oh my god. What, Springtrap? Yeah, I mean, well, using your door is good for teleportation, but it's not good for... A lot of people think it's good for sneaking up on people. But again, depending on how you play your door, and depending on where the door placements are, yeah, I don't know about that. Pre-running is very popular against Springtrap. I'll solo play Springtrap because I enjoy him and he's fun. That makes sense. No, I'm not saying that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I get that. I'm gonna leave this here because honestly, I agree with this. I'm not gonna look at this because this is probably like how you would buff Springtrap. I don't want to see anybody's like opinions on how they would buff Springtrap because I want to give my own. I don't want to like be inspired by other people. You know what I mean? I want to just like make my own, and I kind of know what I would do in that scenario. Just because they play similar doesn't mean that one plays better. Yes, because they are very similar, one is bound to be better. Yeah, that's actually how that works. So, but believe it or not, if you break two killers and they got the same concept and like one of them's bound to actually be just better than the other one, power creep is going to happen. Either the new one's gonna be inferior to the old one, like why would you make it, or the new one's gonna be better than the old one, so then you just play the new one. Like that's kind of how that was gonna work. I think the best way to go about it is to make the doors a required mechanic. Yeah, and before I read anything into this too much, like I said, I want to make my own thing here, but I completely agree with you. I don't know how you make certain killers like Pinhead. And let's just say the pig, right, where they're super interactive and you have to be doing things to like negate the power, and then they had that kind of concept for Springtrap and they completely just flubbed it completely. It's so unfortunately. Thankfully I'm a huge fan of both, right? So if you're, you know, at the end of the day, if you're a fan of both of them, you're probably in luck because they are so similar that you could just like you're able to just kind of play both of them. They need to either rework him or add more, like, phantom traps. Yeah, okay. Before I, like, read too much into, like, different ways to buff Springtrap, I completely understand the whole phantom thing. I think even I made, like, a concept video a long time ago, and I was like, yeah, I think phantoms would be really cool if they were a part of his kit, and they did not do that. But what are you gonna do? You can say that about any new killer. Okay, no, you can't. You're missing the point. For the most part, they usually are better versions of the previous killer or a hybrid. Pointless complaint, to be honest. This is, like, so blatant, though. This is a blatant, like, they're the same killer. That's the problem here. I would like for you to point to other killers and say, like, well, this killer existed, and then this killer came out, and this killer does what better than what this killer does. But I want to see, like, what those two killers do and what those two killers offer, and I'm sure there's, like, at least some differences that are actually good. Springtrap does almost nothing better than Jason, and they have the same, they have the exact same shit going on for them. So, it's so funny that people think this, but they really do not take into account just how close Springtrap and Jason are to, like, the same exact power. So, yeah, okay. Orbitals and door throws just become the top 0.1%. Yeah, well, if you become the top 0.1%, then sure. Yeah, if you train your ass off day and night, if you get like 500 hours on Springtrap and you are goated at the game, then yeah, sure. I would only play Springtrap to jump scare players and play stealth builds. Yeah, I don't know how that works though with him. It's hard to on Jason at the moment as everyone just speeds through gens. They could do the same thing with Springtrap though. I don't know how stealth builds really work with Springtrap because again, I really just feel like I really feel like Springtrap's undetectable is meaningless. So only sometimes is it actually good. I don't really think it's that great. He also like going and this is something I'm going to say for like how I would buff him. Going like exiting a door, especially if a survivor pre-runs, the fact that Springtrap doesn't get like haste in some way is ridiculous. It's ridiculous because good luck catching up in a decent amount of time. That's because Jason's the GOAT and he got tired of a lot of FNAF fans saying FNAF is the biggest DVD collab. Yeah, I guess. The only reason to play Springtrap since release is that you are a Springtrap fan. Yeah, there is that too. Yeah. Or again, if you're like the other guy who P100 Springtrap and you spent a lot of time playing Springtrap, of course you're still gonna play Springtrap because you got used to him. You know what you're doing with him to the highest degree. I prefer Springtrap's projectile over Jason's. Jason is a lot more of a learning curve. Interesting take. I'd have to say I disagree. While this might be true, I hope folks play this game for who they like and not to be best killer ever. I completely understand that and I get that. I just dislike that we are seriously entering a phase in this game where power creep is just it's just going to become a norm at this point, and this is a blatant, like, obvious power creep. This is I seriously do not think that you can name a killer that has been power crept harder than Springtrap and Jason, because again, Springtrap and Jason have almost the same exact abilities. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they got the same shit going on. I don't think you can name a killer, like two killers that had the same exact things going on. You know what I mean? So I really just feel like this is the biggest form of power creep we've ever seen. And I think power creep is going to be a huge problem in the future. Way bigger than ever before. And I'm kind of scared of that. That's basically every killer now. Kind of hard for them to keep things fresh. I'm really hoping that since they're changing up the way the game works graphically, that maybe the game's code can accept different killers that can do a lot of different shit. Because, yeah, we are hitting a point where it's definitely just like everyone's kind of samey. I think at this point with the rest of these comments, they might just be almost the same thing at this point. Quick vertical shots over low loops. Jason can't do that. Is it good? Jason can't do that. Again, you're saying Jason can't do that. Can you? Can you with Springtrap do that? How many times have you done that? I don't know. I mean, again, if you're the top 5% of Springtrap players, then sure. But you know, I feel like yes, this is a possibility. You can in fact hit orbitals like that. But have you done it? Really sit down and ask yourself. Out of the amount of times I've played Springtrap, how many times have I even tried to go for it? And every single time I have tried to go for it, how many worked? Okay, so some killers are just better than others, I guess. Yeah, well, I mean that is the truth. There's a definite. Oh my God, there's a definite way to buff Springtrap to make him stronger. Okay, before I read any further, because I really want to keep my ideas fresh and like from my brain. Crazy how people were coping saying they're significantly different from each other when the PTB came out, but now everyone's complaining that Jason's existence made Springtrap obsolete. I didn't say, okay, well, me personally, I didn't say anything about it until, like, what was this, June 20th? Because I played a lot of the PTB, and I'm like, this is just Springtrap. So, yeah, I think most of these are probably just going to be almost the same comments at this point. Springtrap has glitch trap. Yeah, I guess that's true. Jason, Springtrap, Huntress. Yeah, I mean, Huntress is, like, in the in the dirt right now. And Springtrap did that to Xeno and so forth. Xeno didn't have a projectile. Xeno also had the tunnels, which are different from Springtrap's doors, because at least with the tunnel, you only know that Xenomorph is coming out of the tunnel when they're literally coming out of the tunnel. So there's that. I don't know. I don't know about that. It's not as rough of a comparison. Plus, Xenomorph was kind of just dog shit off rip because of the turrets. The turrets were like way too disgusting. And it can be very annoying. Huntress, yeah, I actually like this one because I thought this was funny. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like most people in this comment section are like, they either agree, or if they don't agree, then they say, well, Springtrap's got the orbitals. Or they're like, well, but guess what? Power creep is normal, and this happens to everybody, so what do you expect? Better killer design. that's what I expect. Better killer design, and this is blatant power creep, and we might be in for a terrible time for the future of how killers play, unfortunately. I'll quickly read this. Cooler skins, but I guess that kind of folds into is a fan of Springtrap. Yeah, I guess that's the case. Can we say Springtrap is shit now? I don't think he's shit. I don't think he's a terrible killer. I just think he's just like, the power creep is unfortunate. So yeah, but I think that's where I'm gonna leave it here for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. The next time, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but the next time I talk about this particular topic, it's going to be about buffing Springtrap and how I would do it. And I know exactly how I would actually do that. So make sure you stay tuned for that video in the future. We are going to be streaming on Sundays, so make sure you go ahead and join those streams. We're going to be playing customs and all that jazz. So if you'd like to join, please make sure you subscribe and stay tuned. Hit the notification bell. So yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.